Yes, hello guys. We are back today again. Same old story. Let me put it that way. And today we are going to be talking again about service. Today is actually basics basic services and under FFAR. So we are going to continue our study of the FIFA Agent Regulations and then see how we go from there. Then we finally also speak with look at past questions and then go also into details. But again, hope you all guys had a good time last time we met. That was yesterday studying. So I hope everything went well. For some of you people who were not around, I hope you people digested that by just reading and going through or listening to it. As I said last time, that it's more easier when if you read or if you are listening, then sometimes you can just sit and put that the audio on your head and then lay on the bed and listen. It's quite easy because you're trying to refresh your brain and then picking up some few details that you couldn't go through or you couldn't listen when we were online. These things are actually going to help you probably not probably help you when you're starting to write the exam. This is going to help you easily. So most of the time, yeah, these basics are quite important unless you ignore it. Let's say, well, I don't think you're going to be ignoring it anyways. That's why you're here and you're trying to read and prepare for your exam. As I said, I'll keep saying, being a FIFA license agent is the best thing in the world. If you're here preparing for the exam, just go hard on it because that's the best thing when you pass the exam. Am I blessing watching from Leon Franks again? Yes, welcome again and nice to hear you're back again from watching from France. That's nice. Yes, with others joining in the live tune, I think I'll just type something here. I'll try to leave it in the message chat. If let's just put something there. Tell us 1 minute, guys. Tell us where you're watching from and tell us where you are watching from and your name can be good. Your name. Tell us where you're watching from and your name. If you join. If you join. Yes, I think that's easy so that even other people can know your name from the chat. Let's see. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us where you are watching from and your name if you join. Yes, and I hope most of you guys here know my name, but if you don't, I'm Brian Gaucho, FIFA license agent. Yes, living in Finland. That's my details. Living in Finland, traveling. What I really do, travel around Europe, actually, most especially Europe, to interview CEOs, sporting directors, and then also studying sport and leisure management. So those are what I do. But after when I started traveling, I also discovered that being a licensed agent is a great thing. So that's where my career path is moving. So I'm here also to give you guys feedback or important things I've met while traveling, and most especially tell you guys or train or guide you people concerning the FIFA agent exam with my experience of passing the exam, so that at least you can pass the exam, which is the reason why we're here. Because the more when you pass the exam, happy days. At least you are now a professional in something. You're a professional agent. It's not easy. I'm going to tell you that, because as I always say, when you pass the exam, then you feel that you can go to football clubs, and then at least you can introduce yourself as a licensed agent. Not like, because there are many people in the industry that they say they are agents. I would say they say they are agents, but they never go to knock on the door of sporting directors because they cannot move a deal, because you only move a deal when you have license. Excuse me, that's fact. So because there are a lot of people, even you see them working, they always say they're a licensed agent, but when you ask someone, the best way to know if someone is a licensed agent, just ask him his license number, and then from there you verify. Anyways, let's move straight into what brought us here today. Today we're going to be talking about service fee basics. Those are the key things we're going to go into it, and then but that's see under FFAR. We're going to go into that into details. Then also tomorrow we can start also touching the RSTP, which is so today's session will be almost like highlights that I've just spoken about the FIFA Football Agent Regulation. I've taken some highlights part and then try to revise it with you people. So tomorrow we'll start with the longest parts of the FIFA agent material, which is the RSTP. So I'll look at also the highlight parts there and try to touch few parts on it also. And then before the idea is that before before you're writing, we should already have some things that we have touched and we have done a lot into that. I don't know, am I losing my voice today or what? Probably I need some water. I don't seem to be myself. Wake up. Yeah, it seems as if I'm still dreaming. Oh, okay. Yes, let me feel alive a little bit. But yes, as I said, we'll be speaking about service fee basics. So let's hit it straight and moving. So first, we look at a football agent may charge. So we're going straight into it. A football agent may charge a service fee only if it's agreed in a representation agreement. So what does that mean? That one actually means that's normal. So when you sign a representation agreement, a representation agreement is the paper you sign to represent the player. Because I think most people always confuse that with like a contract with a club or whatsoever. So that they're always going to call a representation agreement. So a service fee, this is just saying that a football agent may charge a service fee only if it's agreed in a representation agreement, and that's it. Yes. So, but a point on that also, before there are certain materials that won't be coming on the exam. So most of you guys you're writing the exam, you read various articles, especially in the intro part on the study material of 2026. There are some materials that are bound that were bound. That is not the bound is not yet updated. So you need to know those materials. And service fee also is one of them. Due to FIFA has not actually come out with a statement. But what you should know is that if you find this thing in the exam that the service fee, what's the service fee of a football agent, you should already try to glance through it. But however, when materials are bound, you won't be tested on it. So you understand what I mean? So those are the things that I'll try to go through those materials also and let you guys know, the materials that are prohibited, that they won't be coming to, that you won't see them in the exam. So I'll try to have a picture of them, not picture of them, have to go through it or then come and explain it again to you people. So that will be helpful. So that at least you have an idea, but also it'll be important that you also look at it because it's not everything that I can explain to you people that you will stick into your brain. Normally, you can also try to look at it and then go through it yourself. Then that will be helpful. So next thing we look at, okay, the service fee must be paid by the client of a football agent Okay, that's what I'm saying. So this is a service fee must be paid, but when you're looking at the materials, most of those prohibited documents or those materials that you won't be seeing in the exam, or those things you won't be seeing in the exam, I recommend strongly that at least you should go through that. Even if I come and tell you, but it will help if you go through that so that at least you have an idea or have a picture of it. So the next thing we look at, the client cannot authorize a third party to pay the fee except in specific circumstances. No, it's always a client cannot authorize third party to pay a fee. So exception for low salary players. So these are exceptions for low salary players, and most of us in the industry, we don't actually know. And before I dive into this, we don't actually know how much an agent is paid. We just always assume that okay, we just always assume certain things, but I'm going to give you some numbers here. So let's take, for example, if a player earns less than 200,000 per year USD, the engaging club may pay the agent on behalf of the player. I think you can know it. Yes. So if you earn less than 200 a year, the engaging club, which is what, as I use the name, with the buying club, may pay the agent on behalf of the player. However, three conditions must apply. So listen at the condition. The payment must not affect the agent's duty to the player. Okay. The payment cannot exceed the service fee agreed in the representation agreement. So you already so those are things that you be aware of. The club cannot deduct this service fee from the player's salary. So it doesn't even if the club pays the agent that fee, they cannot deduct it from the player's salary. So let's look at next when service fees are paid. Service fees most paid through an invoice. Payment must be made after a transfer window when window is closes, after transfer window closes. So let's take, for example, just to explain or go into details about this. You have a player and then you make that player move clubs. Okay. So what is recommended is that when the transfer window closes before now, you start talking, you can start thinking of paying the agents can start receiving their salaries. Let me put it that way. Excuse me. And payments are made every 3 months during the duration of an employment contract. That's also something people don't know. So when they say payments are made every 3 months, so if you have a client, normally FIFA says you pay that client, you pay that okay, no, you are an agent, and then the person is a player. He pays you 4 times a year, which is after every 3 months. That's what they are just explaining now. So which means if you sign your player and then let's say in the summer, and let's take for example August. So it shows that your first payment will be September, October, November. I'm just giving an example. If you had a representation agreement with him in August, then the window close. Then the first payment will be after 3 months. So as so if you calculate 3 months, I mean in a calendar year, you'll be paid 4 times. That's what they're saying. You'll be paid 4 times in a calendar year. But those 4 times will be divided each 3 months, you get salary. But now, one thing I need to emphasize here is if your player earns, let's take for example 150K a week, or 150, let's say 150K a month. Let me make it monthly. The money you pay him, I mean, the money he doesn't pay you in that month is calculated the first, second, and third month. It's not just that he just pays you just the third month salary. No, the first, second, and third month is going to be summed up together. So let's take, for example, if your service fee was, let's say, 3% of 150 euros, I mean 150,000, and you divide that and then you calculate that 3% of 150,000 in month one and in month two, he will join you. The player will join that money or and pay you up at the third month. So this is how it goes. It doesn't mean that the first and second month is forgotten. So I'm just trying to explain so that you understand that you're being paid monthly, but you don't receive that salary. Your money is accumulating, but you get it on the third month, on the sixth month, on the ninth month, and on the 12th month. So it can be 4 times a year. So you and the player, you both need to sit down and talk about this. And you should also know that this fee is calculated only by salary actually received by the player. So special cases, if a contract is less than 6 months, the service fee is paid in one single installment. That can be normal. So let's take, for example, you had a salary, you had, let's say, 6 months contract. Let's take, for example. So it's normal that service fee that you pay your agent, you can calculate it and pay it in one installment. You don't need to pay in 4 installments. So you can pay just one installment. So that's say okay. Or I'm not in this case, the player can pay just one installment because you are the agent. the player can pay in just one installment. So these are little details that you should know, so that when you're having your player, you should be able to speak these things and don't expect your payment on day one. And if the service fee is paid in single month, then the payment occurs when the contract expires. Okay, let's go into a little bit details. Agent and minors. Agents cannot receive a service fee for minor unless the minor is signing their first professional contract. I think you both know that. Or if you don't know that, that is it. You cannot receive service fee for a minor. So if you're managing a minor, you manage him, but unless he signs his first professional contract before, he is entitled to pay you. Okay, let's look at service fee cap rules. The FIFA regulation impose strict caps on agent commissions. So again, I'll emphasize on this that you try to check these service fees are things that you just need to have an idea of. But as I said, look at the study materials. I don't know how many of you people are using the study materials. I hope all of you should be already using the study materials now. If you don't have a study material for the 2026 model, the 2026, let me know. You can send me an email. I can also send you the study materials. But anyways, you should already be having the study materials because it's already that close. The exam is getting closer. You must be studying already something. You must be doing. Must have started already long to be doing something. So I will still emphasize that you try to look that on the study materials. Okay, but let's look at FIFA service fee cap rules. So if the player earns less than $200, less than $200,000. So listen to this. Agent representation is 5%. Okay. So if a player, let me say, if you're representing a player and he's earning less than this 200,000, so it's 5%. So if the player earns above, if the player earns above 200,000, so agent representing is 3%. Is 3%. So those are the things that you just need to have an idea of. Okay, dual representation. Okay, but if an agent represents both player and the club, which is dual representation happens only between the individual and the engaging entity, then of course you know that the commissioning is like 10%. But now also if agent represent just selling club, so if you're representing a selling club in a deal, because an agent can represent a club in a deal, I think people know that if you're representing, because what an agent cannot do is that you cannot represent a selling club in a deal and you cannot represent a buying club in a deal. So those are the things. But now if an agent is representing only a selling club, it's 10%. So, but still, I say most of this, when it comes to service fee, because there are certain materials that have been prohibited. So, but you need to know this because you use this while while you are working. While you're working, when you start doing deals, you need all these things to have an idea of all this. They are very important. So you should just have an idea of. Okay, now let's move straight. Let's try to add some pace in it. Agent duties and obligations. Football agent must always act in the best interest of their client. So the best person who used to always say this was the late Mino Raula. He used to always say his job is to represent his client the best possible way. Of course, when you sell around, a lot of clubs hated him because he it was almost like he was just after money. But the reality, he was always trying to get the best out of his clients. The best for his client. So if he was representing someone, he made sure that he wasn't shy of money, that he wasn't shy to say if his client need to be paid this money, his client must be paid that money. If not, the client is not moving. So that was his principle. So, and when you when you speak like that, most clubs, there are some people who are you are going to at least have some people that most clubs who are not going to really like the way you work. Okay, and let's move forward. We said football agent must always act in the best interest of the client. Football agent must respect all FIFA statutes and regulation. I think you should know that. The football agent also must avoid conflict of interest, yeah, which is very important. They must also ensure their name, license number, and client appear in contracts. So these things, you make sure that when you're having a representation agreement, you make sure that this thing appears on the form you're filling. And football agent must also maintain eligibility requirements. That's for sure. You must, these things are things that are non-negotiable. You must also pay your annual fee license regularly on the FIFA agent platform. Well, if that, I think that it's normal, because if you don't pay, your license you're going to get a warning, and then after, your license will be withdrawn. So, and then also, if you football agent must complete the continual professional development on the platform also. So, as I said last time, when you have your license, it's not just done. You still need to be visiting the platform to keep developing, because the rules each time, even as an agent, we try to always keep up with the rules, because each time FIFA tries to um, adjust the rules, let me say, adjust certain things in the rules and regulation. If they made a rule, if they made something, if there was something that was a rule that was so harsh, and then people debated a lot about it, FIFA could see into that. So normally, each time they are trying to check what is beneficial for the agency. So that's why there's always a continual development program there that you can always look into, and then refresh your brain. That's very important. Okay, and let's look at reporting obligations. Agent must upload information to the FIFA platform. Example: this includes within 14 days. Within 14 days. So one is your representation agreement. So if you have your representation agreement with the player and you have that form, you have to upload it in the into the platform within 14 days. Also, other agreements with your clients, you have to upload it there. So those are things that when you get your license, you need to learn, because also many people also don't know how to use the platform. So those are the things that also you can have, and you can take a look also to spend time and know how to use it. Service fee payment, also cooperation agreement with other agents. You need to update. You need to put that into the platform within 14 days. Settlement agreement, you need to put that in the platform also within 14 days. If the agent operates through an agency, they must also report the ownership structure of that agency, structure of that agency, the shareholder, and also the agency employees. That's very important. So I hope it's clear. Then conduct that is strictly prohibited. Football agent may not. So this is for what you as an agent you cannot do. Include players to break contracts without just cause. This because there's a lot of tactics always happening. I don't want to say tactics. There's a lot of tricks always going on in the industry that sometimes some agents try to use some moves for their player to maybe break a contract which is not favoring them. Because let's take, for example, I'll give an example. If an agent goes, because he didn't know how to negotiate due to pressure, and went and signed a contract worth, let's take, for example, let's say 5,000 euros a month. Let's just give an example: 5,000 euro a month. Whereas then, then later on discovered that there are players at the club that they are not just good at all, but they are on 15K, and then he has a 3 years contract with that club, and he's starting every time. So most of the time, of course, if you play and you're regularly in the starting lineup, at one point in time they're going to call you because the club will want to keep you to relook the contract and negotiate and renegotiate. But most of the time, if you are not having an agent who have a calm head, the person will, because you will not be happy with the contract situation. Most times, it's almost like they'll be finding a way to breach an agreement. I mean, to breach the contract. So this a lot happened in the industry. I remember speaking to there was one the father of one player actually contacting me a lot on LinkedIn, telling me what let me give him advice on his son. His son actually used to play for a big team in not a big team, the academy of a big team in Germany, moved to Turkey, moved to a second division in Turkey, and then wasn't getting playing time. Then they paid him his first salary. The team paid him salary first month, second month, then stopped paying the salary. So now they paid. I think they stopped paying the salary. If I'm mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, they stopped paying the salary for just 1 month. So the rules of breaching an agreement says they have to, if they stop paying you a salary for 2 months, then you inform them. You give them a notice also still within a specific days, and they don't respond before you're entitled to breach that. But anyways, because the finance wasn't that great, the dad was encouraging his son to try to breach the contract. So there are a lot of things that happen in the industry that also, but this I always say you need to be always careful so that you don't get a bad name in the industry like a bad agent. But apart from that, also just be smart with the kind of deals you do, because if you don't know the rules and regulation very well, you're going to fall into a lot of traps, because sometimes this happen a lot. Okay, let's move forward. So a football agent may not induce players to break contract without just cause, as I just said, offer bribes or financial advantages, hide conflicts of interest, circumvent the service fee cap, receive transfer compensation payment, participate in bridge transfer. I think bridge transfer, I think most of people know what is bridge transfer. Bridge transfer is a consecutive transfer that happen within 16 weeks. So what I mean by that is if a player moves for let me say if a player moved in a club in August, let's just give an example, every day moved in August on the 1st of August, then within, let's say, on the 25th of August, that player is moving again to another club. So FIFA will look at that like a bridge transfer, because two consecutive transfer happening within 16 weeks shows that the first initial transfer happening is not for footballing reason. They must be they are trying to bypass a rule there. So FIFA always looks at it like, okay, they are trying to there's a rule, there's something happening. Why is this player who went to this club moving again as soon as possible? So that's what those are things that you can learn also how the industry works. Okay, let's look at now license suspension rules. A football agent license may be suspended if the agent fails to meet eligibility requirements. So I think you read already about the eligibility requirements. Yeah. So, but in this case, if you have your license and then you go on playing, let's say you're doing gambling, and then at one point in time, let's say for example, you got a lottery, you won the lottery, and then your name came, then FIFA found out that you did this. So that's your failed the eligibility rule. So you already know that those things are things that you cannot do as an agent. So your license will be suspended there. And then also fails to pay service annual service fee. That is normal. Fails to complete the CPG as we spoke earlier, and fails to comply with reporting obligations. If the issue is not corrected within 16 days, then your license will be withdrawn. So everything, if you fail to meet eligibility rules, and then within 16 days you don't adjust or correct these things, then your license will be withdrawn. And you don't really want your license to be withdrawn after writing the exam. When you did you I think most of people, if you heard the percentage last year, was it 18 point something percent who passed out of many people wrote. So there's one thing I always tell myself is I try to keep my license as strict as possible, because I know passing the exam is just so difficult that you need to really be focused. Because I was having a conversation the other day with my friend that it's not a guarantee that, let me say, every agent who wrote the exam, it's not a guarantee that if they bring them back, the majority will pass. Because you might go into the room and see questions that favor you. What I mean by questions that favor you are just short questions that can be, how what is the duration of the what is the maximum duration of a representation agreement? You say 2 years. Those kind of easy questions. And then another question like, what is bridge transfer? Those basic easy questions. You might stumble on those kind of easy questions, which are those, I call them easy questions, because the questions of the FIFA agent regulations, I mean the questions that are always that are challenging are those lengthy questions that before you read that question, it takes you more than a minute. Then before you want to interpret the question, it takes you another minute. You start to have a panic thinking that, oh, I have to answer this if not, I'm losing time here. So that's how mostly the FIFA agent exam is, that most of the time you feel and the questions are always very long. But now if you're at one point in time, you might get questions that are just like the one I said, bridge transfer, training, what is training compensation, what is training compensation? Training compensation is money paid it's money paid to a club who has developed a player between the age of 12 to 21. Or they can ask you, what is solidarity mechanism? Solidarity mechanism is when there's an international transfer, the 5% of it is sent to the club that the clubs that train the player between the age of 12 to 23. So those are just basic questions that I'm bringing up here and answers. But you see, it's not every time that you're going to get those kind of questions, or they come and ask you what is protection period. I think I used to speak of protection period, or they come and ask what's protection period. I explained that one also, that protection period is a period where your transfers or contracts are being very protected. He who breaches the contract face huge fines or suspensions. And the age of a protection period is, let's say, from if you're 28 and above, your protection period is 2 years within a player. If you're 28 and below, your protection period is 3 years. So this is a period of a player's life that FIFA wants there's always stability between you and the club. So those things, if you meet those kind of questions in the exam, those are happy days, because those things are easy. I don't think they're going to ask what is an engaging entity. Those ones they cannot ask you those things. Most of the time, the exam is being set on something that you're going to actually, most of the time, face in real life situation. They try to make it challenging, but also there's a real life situation. There are real life cases there. For example, most of the time they always ask cases of minor, when a minor travels to let's say out of his continent, move to another country for an internship. Then they make the question more lengthy. Then probably they might come and ask you and say, is he entitled to play sign professional? Which is no. So if you just have these things at the back of your brain, knowing that no matter how if a minor leaves his country, goes for studies, there's no way he's signing a professional contract as long as he goes for study. That's just the first basic rules. So, but they might twist the question, go do types of things just to see whether you are thinking a lot. So those are the things that you should just be aware of. But if those kind of question comes, those are easy questions. Those are easy questions that can help you. I mean, that you can easily answer if you have been reading those things. That's why sometimes I always say, when you're just home while you're preparing, you can take a look at the most of the definitions, because most of these things I'm saying, they are also around the definitions of each article, I mean, of each topic when it's starting. So let's take, for example, under the RSTP, when RSTP starts, you're going to see some definitions there. And then also under FFAR, each topic when they're starting, you're going to see basic definitions there. Okay, let's move forward. So we have a football agent license may be suspended if the agent, I think we did this already, fails to meet eligibility requirement, fails to pay annual license fee, fails to complete CPD, and fails to comply with reporting obligations. If the issue is not corrected within 60 days, then your license will be withdrawn. But, okay. Anyways, that's it for the study materials, and then let's dive into questions relating this what we spoke about, questions and answers. Let's dive into questions and answers. So question one is under FIFA Football Agent Regulation, service fee payable to a football agent must follow strict principles regarding who is responsible for making the payment. Now, which of the following statements correctly describe the general rule regarding payment of a football agent service fee under the FIFA regulation? A. The service fee may be paid by a third party authorized by the client. That's wrong. B. The service fee must be paid exclusively by the client of the football agent. Yes. C. The service fee must always be paid by the engaging club. No, it's not. It might not always. It's not must be paid. D. The service fee may be paid jointly by the player and the releasing club. No. So the answer here is the service fee. So I hope you understood the question. The question was which of the following statements correctly describe the general rule regarding payment of an agent service fee under the FIFA Football Agent Regulation. So the answer was B. The service fee must be paid exclusively by client of the football agent. You can find that order if you are reading. You can find that under general principles. I think if I'm not mistaken, general principle, article 14. Yeah, something like that. So, question 2. The FIFA regulation established a specific exception allowing a club to pay an agent on behalf of a player under limited circumstances. So I think you understood this question. So that's why I say one of the things of the exam is also interpreting the question. If you read the question, try to always already try to understand what the question is saying, is asking. So I go again, I'll repeat again. Excuse me. The FIFA regulations establish a specific exceptions. So there are exceptions allowing a club to pay an agent on behalf of a player under limited circumstances. So now, under which of the following situations may an engaging club legally pay the service fee owed by a player to their football agent? A. I think we spoke about this already. If you remember, A, when the player earns less than 200,000 dollars, 200 USD annually, and the payment conditions are respected. So I think we spoke about that. If you already see, this is already the answer. If you earn less than $200, I think I spoke about this just at the beginning of this live. B, when the player is under age 21, no. C, when both clubs involved in the transfer approve the payment, no. D, when the agent requests payment from the club. So the answer is A. I think we spoke about this. And also, if you want to get this also, you can also refer it on Article 14, Paragraph 3 of the FFAR. So if I'm giving this article's number or page this in, the best thing that you can also do is just to take a pen and just put those things down. You can always, so that when you're reading, you can see these things that I'm speaking about on a particular page. If you're versed in opening the study materials, and you should also learn how to open. That's just an info. You should learn how to open the study materials to be able to locate questions and answer there easily. Okay, question 3. FIFA regulation impose a structured timeline for service fee payment related to employment contract negotiated by the football agent. So how much service fee payment generally made for contract lasting longer than 6 months? A single payment immediate after the transfer. I think we spoke about this also earlier. D, in monthly installment during the first season. C, in installment every 3 months during the employment contract, and D, at the end of player's contract. So I think we know the answer. The answer here is C, which is in installment, as we said, every 3 months during the employment contract. So just to interpret, just to look at the question again, the question was FIFA regulation impose a structured timeline for service fee payment, okay, related to employment contract negotiated by football agent. Then now they ask how much service fee payment generally be made for contract lasting longer than 6 months. That's the question. Then they gave the multiple choice answers. Hadn't been, it was just for 6 months, as I told you earlier. The installment, it will just be, you can pay it just in one duration, you can just pay if it's 6 months, you don't need to have installment. But this one, they were saying contract lasting longer than 6 months. So you know already you have to pay the agent 4 times. If it's lasting more than 6 months, then let's say it's a year, you know you have to pay the agent 4 times, which is after every 3 months. So question 4, the FIFA regulation introduced a limitation regarding the calculation of service fee payable to football agents. According to these regulations, the service fee must be calculated based on which of the following elements? A full value of employment contract, including contractual bonuses. No. B, the remuneration actual received by the player. Okay, yeah. C, the transfer fee paid by an engaging club. And D, the established market value of the player. So the answer is B, the remuneration actually received by the player. So I'll go through the question one more time. The FIFA regulation introduced a limitation regarding the calculation of service fee payable to football agents. According to this regulation, the service fee must be calculated based on which of the following elements? So the question is, how is service fee calculated? Let's just say, okay, so if you say A, the full value of employment contract, including contractual bonuses. So is service fee calculated including contractual bonuses? That's A. B, the remuneration actually received by the player. So it's the remuneration that it received by the player, as we spoke earlier. So that's the answer B. C, the transfer fee paid by the engaging club. No. D, the estimated market value of the player. No. Okay. And B was the answer, and you can see this also on article, I think same article 14. Yeah. Question 5. Moving forward. We have 10 questions to go. FIFA regulation place restriction on service fees related to transaction involving minor. Okay. Under what circumstances may a football agent receive a service fee in connection with a minor? So normally, if you remember, we spoke already earlier that you cannot charge you as an agent, you cannot charge a service fee. You cannot charge a minor service fee unless that minor signs his first professional contract. So now we're coming now close to the question again. So it's saying, I go through the question again. Say FIFA regulation place restrictions on service fee related to transaction involving minor. Under what circumstances may a football agent receive a service fee in connection with a minor? A, when representing the minor in any transfer. When representing a minor in any transfer. No. B, only when the minor signs their first or subsequent professional contract. So that's just what I was saying. C, only when the minor reaches the age 18. D, when the club agrees to pay fee directly. So the answer was B, only when the minor signs their first or subsequent professional contract. So question 6, the FIFA regulation established service fee caps depending on salary level of players involved in transaction. If a football agent represents a player whose annual remuneration is greater than 200,000, I think we spoke about this already, What is the maximum service fee the agent may charge the player? Before even reading, I already know the answer. Okay, A, 5% of the player's remuneration. B, 10% of the player's remuneration. C, 3% of the player's remuneration. And D, 6% of the player remuneration. Yeah, it is 3% of the player's remuneration because we spoke earlier that if you earn 200,000 and above, then if your client earn 200,000 and above, then the agent fee is, the service fee is 3%. But when the player earn less than 200,000, it is 5%, as we spoke earlier. So now question 7. Under the FIFA Football Agent Regulations, certain professional obligations must always be respected by FIFA Football Agent. Which of the following duties form part of a football agent mandatory obligations under FIFA regulations? So A, promoting players through media outlets. B, acting at an all-time best interest of their client. We spoke about this already. So that's the answer. But C, negotiating sponsorship agreement for clubs. D, recruiting players for academies. So the answer is B, acting at all time in the best interest of your client. So the question was, I'm not going to read all, which of the following duties forms part of FIFA Football Agent mandatory obligation under the regulations? As we said that your duty as an agent, it is to act in the best interest of your client. So the answer here is B. It shows, yeah. So you can also check this on rights and obligations, Article 16 under FFAR. So let's go question 8. FIFA regulations establish strict reporting obligation requiring agents to disclose certain agreement and payment to the FIFA platform. Within what period must a football agent upload a representation agreement after it has been executed, amended, or terminated? We also spoke about these days. If you remember, what you have to how long it has to take for you to upload these things in the platform. So the answer is 14 days, but let's find it out here. So A, within 7 days. B, within 14 days. C, within 30 days. D, within 60 days. So the answer is B, within 14 days. And we spoke about this when we were looking at the lectures that after you do any amendment, or let's say you have had a representation agreement with your player, you have to upload that within 14 days. If you do any agreement with your player or your client, how you may call it, it takes 14 days for you to upload it on the platform. Now, as I said, many people don't know how to use the platform. They might say, hey, this is challenging. So it's your duty as an agent also to try to check and try to go through those things. It's going to help a lot. Okay, question 9 and then 10. FIFA regulation impose strict prohibition on certain behaviors by football agents to ensure integrity in football transaction. Now, which of the following actions will constitute a violation of the FIFA Football Agent Regulation? So let's see. A, negotiating the employment contract for a client. No, that's okay. B, reporting a written offer received by a client. No, that's okay. C, offering an undue financial advantage to a club official. Okay, that's the wrong thing. D, advising a client on career decision. So if you use even the principle of elimination here, you will know that the one which is odd here is offering an undue financial advantage to a club official. Excuse me. The question was, which of the following actions will constitute a violation of the FIFA football regulation? So which are the so among all these answers, which one is like a violation? Last question. The FIFA Football Agent Regulation establish specific consequences if an agent fails to meet their ongoing license obligations. So now, what happens if a football agent fails to comply with eligibility requirement, CPD obligation, reporting duties, or payment of annual license fee? This one is repeating again. A, the license is permanently cancelled immediately. No, it doesn't have. They need to give you some time before they cancel it. So let's go again. B, the license is automatically provisionally suspended. Yes, your can be suspended. C, the agent receive a financial warning only. No. D, the license is transferred to another agency. No. So when this happens, the answer is B, the license is automatically provisionally suspended. Then when you don't do anything, then your license is finally withdrawn. So those were 10 questions for today. Yes, today we did those much quicker, 15 minutes. Yeah, we did more much quicker. So let's take for I did I've just tried within these 2 days I've just tried to look at the FFAR, that's the FIFA Football Agent Regulation, to go through it in this basic form. As I said, tomorrow we can have a look at the RSTP. Then also out, of course, but I also try to juggle more and put some of the titles there, like some not only how to be an agent, not only the study materials, but more now. As I said yesterday, I'm trying to do more of the study material stuff because it's going to help you people here a lot. Those preparing for the exam. But 1 or 2 days it will be nice to teach you people maybe a little bit of networking, teach you people something about the agency business, which is quite nice because I think most of the time when if I'm just telling these things here, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit like, oh, the rules is just reading. But sometimes I like to come up with, let's take for example a topic like how agents do make their money. Those kind of things are things that I think we all like to hear. It motivates you to say, okay, you have to work hard to be able to have a financial freedom in the industry. Because I think just to touch on that, most people go into the industry don't really have an idea how the agents make money. It's sometimes your agent make money is not just based on, they say it's not even based on service fee. There are a lot of things. If you have a top player, then that's good, not just on service fee, that you are expecting salary after every 3 months. Let's take, for example, as we were just reading here. But if you have a player that's a top player, then you have a lot of advantages. And apart from that, even when your player is also a big player, if you are a smart agent, that you know how the life of a social or the life of, especially today, the way social media and things are happening these days, you people can be very profitable. You can build a brand around your player. That brand is like he has a lot of sponsorship deals because players have a lot of sponsorship deals, but the players who have the big sponsorship deals is the one that their agents are more smart and knowing how to make a package for them. Let me say build their brand. So there are players who have a lot of advertisement things here and there, here and there, here and there. Of course, football clubs don't want a player having like 10 sponsorship deals because probably you spend all your time shooting pictures trying to look for those brands so that they can advertise you and then they make their money out of it. So that's why also I think I'll do a title about how brands are how the players make money through brands deals and everything. I'll also try to do a title on that. That will be great title to see how players work with brands and a little bit deep sponsorship deals, a little bit of those kind of things, so that at least many people also see an idea how those things work. It will be an eye opener. But anyways, today is quite short. We always do 1 hour 1 hour something minutes. Let's see. What made today very short? Is that the study materials were short or what? Yes, probably the study materials were not too. Yeah, but well, anyways, it was just the last part of the study of the FFAR, FIFA Football Agent Regulation, because I tried to summarize it today, and I did it yesterday and then today, so it's summarized. So that's all about FFAR. Within these 2 days, I've summarized it, but probably I don't want to say it's easy for me, because I've been reading it, so it might take it might take easy. It might be easy for me to summarize it like that, but in this case, it's not about me, so I'm trying to also break it a little bit so that you understand. But the FIR is quite short. It's not that really long. Like, so I think it's one of the things that if I was you reading, you just need to glance through it and read more because it's easy to questions are going to come on it a lot. But it's also easy to remember because it's one of the most easiest. I don't know. I feel the FFR is one of the most easiest because it's actually one of the topic that talks actually to you, because the FFR is actually what you will be doing. There are two topics in as an agent that you will be using it: the RSTP and the FFAR. RSTP is like a consent transfers and everything like that, commission and all those things. But the FFR is mostly about even you, because it talks about the agent regulations, what you, it talks about things that is happening with you, if you understand what I'm saying about you, because you're an agent. So that's why most of the question comes into these two topics, because if you analyze it very well, transfers, those are the things that you'll be dealing with if you are an agent. Commissioning, those are the things that you'll be dealing with if you're an agent. All these things like service fee, those things you'll be applying, you'll be using it based on, let me say, working with your client. So all those things fall under this like two topics. Breach of transfer, okay, breach of transfer doesn't really involve you, but you still need to know because it's between clubs, but you still need to have an idea. Training compensation, solidarity mechanism, all those little things, you still need to have an idea how how those things happen, because those are the things that actually make you become an agent or make you an agent, and that's why you see most of the material comes in this two, most comes from these two topics. But again, what I always say is you need to know that those materials, the question, there are a lot of questions to set out of this topic. That's why it's good to have a structural approach, because it's rare to pass the exam without a structural approach. You might pass here, but most of the time you need to have a structural approach to pass the exam, to know what you're doing, so that when you enter on the day of the exam, you really know what you're doing. Then it becomes easier for you. I think if you have a structural approach, the way I've seen the matter, if you have a structural approach, you can go and blow the exam away. What I mean by that, by just read and go easily. So it's that kind of thing that when you're reading and with a structure, it becomes easy. But when you're reading without a structure, you maybe you open the FIFA clearinghouse, is bulky. You have to read about. You go to the football tribunal. It's something that you also have to read. You go to the FFA, as you mentioned, FIFA statutes, uh, FIFA ethics, FIFA disciplinary code. So there are a lot of this thing that, and also another thing we haven't really spoken here is the football tribunal, the agent chamber, and all those things. We need to look at all those things a little bit. But anyways, that was it for today. If there was a question, someone said, yes, good evening, Sally brother. Yes, good evening. Hope you're doing great. Where are you watching from? Claudio. I'm talking to, is it, let's look at the name. Claudio. Yes, Claudio. Yeah. From Germany. Okay. Nice to hear from you, Claudio. So you're writing the exam as well. You're writing the exam. But anyways, yes, like what I was saying, it's good to prepare and have a structure. Then it helps you. It helps you very easily. And just before I go, I think not too much. I'll be mentioning it. Just prepare, and I think tomorrow, for those who register for the course, it will be open tomorrow. Yes, I'm going to send an email will be coming tomorrow to everyone who register for the course, because I have most of you. I have all your email address. An email will coming tomorrow for the people registering for the course to start. I mean, for the people on the waiting list to start registering for the course. Then we start on the 7th of April. The reason, as I told you, the reason is 7th of April because I want something that we do a preparation that is fresh on your mind. We will have 7th of April, we'll have 14th of April, and then we'll have 21 of April. We have three classes. Within those 3 days, we won't be having I won't be having online yet within those 3 days because there'll be long sessions. So probably I will be putting more energy into those long sessions. So on the 7th, 14, and the 21, I'll not be here. I'll be more trying to give trying to teach and give people the stuff on how to pass, because as I said, it will be just more structured on what to do and what not to do, how to tackle the questions, how to breeze through the questions, how, yes, just exam preparation. It's not, I won't really be focused on something away from the exam. It will just be exam preparation so that at least you can, when you pass the exam, then we can transition into the different things. After 29 or 30th, let's say 30th, when the exam is finished, the topics here will no more be how to pass the FIFA Agent exam. It will be totally different things. Now I will start looking at different topics. How, let's say, how you can be financially okay as an agent, whatsoever topic might be, but it's not going to how to pass the FIFA Agent exam, because that's those who don't. You're going to come back here after probably it's after you're going to get the result. Let's say when you write on in April, you're going to get the result in June. If I'm not mistaken, June 4th, and then then the next session is going to come back after next year. So it's only normal that we start to look at those who are preparing, those who have passed or who will pass. Hopefully, everyone passes here, preparing them for different scenario, like how to meet a sporting director, how to approach sporting director. Actually, I'm also trying to design a course on that. That's because that is the most difficult thing actually in this industry. Actually, I had a conversation with actually an agent just lastly before I came online, who has been in the industry for 10 years. But the thing is, networking is so hard, because networking needs you to be able to know how to communicate with human beings, with people. So even the amount, so long he has stayed in the industry, but he says his challenge is how to break to have how to know how to speak with sporting directors, or to bridge that gap between not being rejected all the time, not being rejected all the time, because that's the pain point of this industry as an agent. Because as I said, you are going to get players for sure, but it's whether how do you take those players to the club, because taking those players to the club, you have to speak to sporting directors, you have to head of recruitment, scouts, all those people. You have to find one person that you can build that connection with the person and also maintain it, because if you don't maintain the communication, maybe you might text him, he might not respond regularly again. Maintaining, what I mean maintaining, doesn't just mean you should text him after 1 day, after every 1 day. No, I'm just saying that once in a while, when you've learned networking, which is a thing that I would advise every person as an agent. When you have your license, that's the first thing. Forget, don't sign players. Just learn networking, and that you'll be fine. Excuse me. What I mean by that is, of course, you're going to sign players. What I mean by that is, when you get your license, the first thing is don't hurry to sign players, because once you are a licensed agent, you will get people approaching you. Not that, okay, if you put yourself out there, people will approach you, because players are always desperate to have an agent who can take them somewhere. But now, Where it gets tough is an agent tells you, most agents say, well, I can make this deal happen. And when you sign with them, you get stuck, nothing happens. So that's why I say players now in the industry, most of the time they don't even want to sign with you, as they don't want to sign with an agent. They have this situation that they just sit and look and say, okay, well, can we work together? When you send the representation agreement, they don't sign, but they are still communicating. As I said yesterday, if you're in this situation, don't waste your time on certain kind of players. Don't bother calling people, sporting directors, or doing whatsoever, trying to build your network. Because for me, I would never travel for a player if we don't have a representation agreement. I don't want to say because I'm confident that I can get a player a deal regularly. No, deals are always a process. But the first thing is there has to be a trust between you both. You cannot work with a player and the player, because that happens a lot in the industry. When you come to the industry, you're going to see what I'm saying. That you have a player, then you don't the player don't want to give you that you have a representation agreement. Thereby means it's not even your player, because if an agent pops up with a deal there, he swings, he goes there. And then if you have been building a network already with a sporting director, you lose, and then probably the sporting director said, let that player come for trials. You cannot control that player, because that player is not, you don't have a representation agreement with him. So those are the things that you don't have to make mistake with. That if a player says he wants you to represent him, the first thing is you people find a common ground, say, okay, speak whatever you people might what agreement, then now you people sign the form. Apart from that, there's nothing in this business like verbal, because players or agents are very everyone changes. Same, I'm not blaming players, I'm not blaming agents, but I'm just saying that as we humans, everyone changes. If you are negotiating, let's say if you don't have an agreement with a player, I'll give this example. If you're negotiating the contract for, let's say you have a player told you, met you and said, okay, I want you to I want you to be my agent. I'm looking for a club, a professional club. I think I'm ready. And you said, okay, you are excited. You go and you start talking to a sporting director, maybe visiting, having a conversation. And then the sporting director try to do research on that player, sees that that player is a decent player, they can use that player. Now you don't have a representation agreement with that player. That player is not your player, but he's speaking with you. So that player is speaking with you. He's also speaking with another player, with another agent. The moment that other agent provides, let's say, something, he leaves you and not thinking that you have been building something with him, with a sporting director. And the player also doesn't think that, because he has no idea, he doesn't also think that, oh, if I leave now, that player may lose that sporting. He doesn't. There will be trust. There will be a problem of trust between that agent and the sporting director, that's how it happens in the industry. Which means if you are talking on the behalf of a player without a representation agreement, if that player doesn't come, the sporting director doesn't trust you at all. Again, because first he has invested his time to speak to you, and probably he must have spoken to the CEO or the people at the club and say, okay, let's bring him on trials. So now when he comes and approach you to bring the player, and then you tell him the player is not available anymore any longer, it becomes a case of trust, that he can no longer trust you. So next time when something happens, you're not his plan A. No, no, no. So even if you send him a player, he is not going to respond to you, because he's feeling, if he goes ahead with the deal, if he goes ahead and accepts, then at one point in time you said the player then the player doesn't turn up. So these are the things that you just need to be careful when it comes to being an agent, because you can build a network to a higher level, and then you lose it back all completely because of having a player who is not signed under you. So this is what actually happens in the industry. I'm giving you based on experience. As I said, the first week when I just became an agent, I was excited, and people were approaching me. Oh, Brian, can we work together? I just, now that I don't have an agent, this is the opportunity. And you being excited, uh, did a deal, as I mentioned to you guys yesterday. Did a deal for my friend to move to a club. Actually, the deal was uh, the club uh, the club was he didn't have an agent, so my friend didn't have an agent. The moment I had my license, I became his agent. So I negotiated a deal, and he had a good salary. So now the club also was happy because he was a good player in training. They have seen everything. Now we went on to the club now trusted me to bring more player. Just in that few weeks, the club now wanted me to bring a winger for them, even a striker. They just wanted me to bring someone for them because they had trusted me that I can bring a good player. Okay. And now searching for a winger that fits the system, because now you don't just bring players because you want to bring player. Then you need to find someone who fits a system so that they will keep trusting you. That's just how transfer works. If not, don't bring any player. I went into that search for a winger. Didn't find a winger. Then my friend popped on and said, he knows his friend who is a player who is in Germany. They play together. So uh, he thinks the guy will be a good winger. The player will be a good winger that will help. Okay, we took communication, spoke to that player, arranged every salary, and the player was happy. I spoke to the club that, okay, I found a winger for them. And they said, is the player happy with the salary? Yes, everything is happy. Now, since Germany is not that far, just take a flight and come here. That's easy, and then let everything move on smoothly. And we called the player. The player said he's no longer coming. So, to cut the a long story short, this only happened because I was not having control of the player. I was not in control of the player. What I mean by in control of the player is anything you want to do first, you have to have a representation agreement. Then you're in control of the player. If not, if the player leaves, your connection gets bad. The connection you have built with the club gets cancer. I mean, you don't have any connection longer because the people don't trust you. But the player doesn't know. The player moves to another direction. So a big advice to you people is when you're starting to do deals, if someone tells you anything, don't listen. Just try to always have a representation agreement first with the player. That's very important. Okay, that's today. Today is okay. I think I will go now. Then tomorrow we'll look at other topics. Yes, getting close to. Let's do other topic as quick as possible so that we can help you pass your exam. So at least I wouldn't be touching the FFAR any longer because at least I have covered it. Anybody who come across this video, if you want to read about the FFAR, is the episode 1 and episode 2 will be FFAR. Tomorrow we'll look at the RSTP. So I try to make it so that it's more easy for even those who watch later that the FFAR, I put it already on the thumbnail. So if you're coming across it, if you want to just read about that part, you can go and see episode 1 and 2 of this video. If you want to read about RSTP or you want to listen about RSTP, it will be about tomorrow and the other videos. So that it's easy for you people. Anyways, we talk or see you again tomorrow. I started 9:30, so yeah, it's more than 1 hour. So I'll leave you today, and then we speak tomorrow again. If there was any question I could answer, but if not, then I'm leaving. Then we can continue tomorrow. Remember 90. I do this 9:30. 9:30. For those who are new, 9:30 Eastern European time. 9:30 p.m. from Monday to Friday. Saturdays and Sundays I'm off. I don't do live, but I try to do Monday to Friday for you people. Okay, I hope everything is clear, and tomorrow we come up with another topic so that you can enjoy it again. Take care and bye for now. It was nice talking with you people. Yes, take care. Bye.